How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys. So this is a story in the Mail Online. As you can see from the title, the headline reads, "Women are about to get the right to check a partner's background under a new domestic violence law named after a mother murdered by her ex-boyfriend." Now, this is about Clare's Law. Now, this has been around for the past couple of years. It refers to George Appleton, who was 40. He strangled 36-year-old Claire Wood and set her on fire. Now, like I say, this is for women to be able to, if they get with a new partner, they can actually go to the police and find out if he's got any domestic, or DV, as we call it, domestic violence, or DA, domestic abuse, on their record and stuff, if they've got a history. Because like I say, a lot of domestic arguments and stuff end up with the partner killing the other partner. Now, like I say, the thing is and I'm a huge fan of this, guys. Like I say, I completely understand it and I get it. But what we need to remember is it's not just males to females. There's also a smaller percentage, but women that attack men as well. It is a double-sided coin. I hate it when they paint one side of a picture. I don't condone domestic violence in any capacity, whether it's a man to a woman, a man to a man, or a woman to a man, or a woman to a woman. I don't condone it, but I know that it goes on. Anyway, guys, I'm going to read the story anyway. So, women are to get the right to check a partner's background under new domestic violence law named after mother murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Theresa May will tomorrow unveil Clare's Law named after a murdered mother. George Appleton, 40, strangled 36-year-old Claire Wood and set her on fire. She had no idea that he served jail time for harassing another woman. Victims will be spared cross-examinations by their abusers in family courts. So this is a story, guys, published today, 3 on the 20th of January 2019. So it says here, people will be able to check whether their partners have been domestic abusers under new legislation. Clare's Law, which is named after a mother who was murdered by her ex, is set to be unveiled tomorrow. Prime Minister Theresa May will announce the move as part of a host of legal reforms, The Sun on Sunday reports. George Appleton, 40, strangled 36-year-old Claire Wood from Salford and set her on fire after they met online. Miss Wood was oblivious to the fact he'd served a 3-year prison sentence for harassing another woman. First things first as well, God bless Claire Wood, may she rest in peace as well. This was a good few years ago. And my thoughts and prayers are obviously still with the family. The reform that bears her name can be used by both sexes and encompasses economic as well as physical abuse. Economic abuse is where abusers use money or access to transport to control their victim. The law also makes the way for the appointment of a domestic abuse commissioner and victim support. Miss May says the reforms leave no stone unturned in providing protection for an estimated 2 million victims. Also included in the package is the assurances that domestic abuse victims will no longer face cross-examination by their abusers in a family court. The new legislation will introduce the first statutory government definition of domestic abuse to include economic abuse and controlling and manipulative non-physical abuse. It will also establish domestic abuse protection notices and protection orders that place restrictions on the actions of offenders. The Home Office has published a report into the economic and social costs of domestic abuse, which reveals the crime cost England and Wales £66 billion in 2016 and 2017. According to the research, the vast majority of this cost, £47 billion, was a result of the physical and emotional harm of domestic abuse, but it also includes other factors such as the cost to health services, which is £2.3 billion, police, £1.3 billion, and victim services, £724 million. Minister for Crime, Safeguarding and Vulnerability, Victoria Atkins, said, "I have heard absolutely heartbreaking accounts of victims whose lives have been ripped apart because of physical, emotional and economic abuse that they have suffered by someone close to them. The draft domestic abuse bill recognises the complex nature of these horrific crimes and puts the needs of victims and their families at the forefront. The government is absolutely committed to shining a light on domestic abuse to ensure this hidden crime does not remain in the shadows." Justice Secretary David Gauke said, "Domestic abuse destroys lives and warrants some of the strongest measures at our disposal to deter offenders and protect victims. This is why we are barring abusers from cross-examining their victims in the family court, a practice which can cause immense distress and amount to a continuation of abuse. and giving courts greater powers, including new protection orders to tackle this hideous crime. Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott, in response to the bill's publication, said, "On average, 2 women a week are killed by a current or former partner. Survivors of domestic abuse have been made to wait too long for this bill. If the Tories are serious about combating domestic abuse violence, then there should be a long-term funding commitment to ensure sufficient resources are available for abuse survivors." Sandra Hawley, the chief executive of the charity Refuge, said, "Refuge welcomes this draft announced by government today. Refuge staff deal with the human misery of domestic abuse violence every day. The cost to women and children's lives are devastating. But now the immense cost to the taxpayer has been laid bare too. Domestic violence is truly everybody's business. This bill represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to address domestic abuse violence, but in order to do so, we must ensure that aspirations are matched by adequate resources. We will continue to work closely with the government to ensure the final bill meets the needs of the women and children we support." That's what's annoying me, right? I've got to stop there because, right, yes, it is predominantly men against women, and I get it, right? But you have to balance the argument and say it also happens from women to men. There was a male last year. His girlfriend was just bullying him, burnt him, attacked him, and stuff like that. And domestic abuse, whether it's from a man to a woman or a woman to a man, or woman to woman or man to man, is absolutely sickening, to be honest, guys. But it does go on. We'll continue to work closely with government to ensure that this final bill meets the needs and support of women and children we support. See, Kate Ghost, who's the chief executive as WomanAid, said the domestic abuse costs society £66 billion a year, and the lives on average of 2 women a week in England and Wales should be a wake-up call for us all. Now, this is time to bring out the spotlight and address the impacts of domestic abuse properly once and for all. She added, "We look forward to working with the government, our member services and survivors themselves to make sure survivors have the resources and support that they need, as well as address the root cause of domestic abuse so that every woman and child can live free from fear and abuse. What about men?" Ms. Goh said the domestic abuse bill has the potential to create a step change in the national response, to create a more effective approach to tackling domestic abuse. Sustainable funding for our life-saving network of specialist support services must be at the centre of this. We are also to make a real difference to survivors' lives. Now, like I say, what I've noticed, and I'm not sexist, guys, it's about these charities seem to be run by women, for women, and like I say, and it's a fantastic idea, and I'm not slamming it. I'm really not. I'm for it 1,000,000%. But women also attack men. It goes on. Like I say, I know there's a higher proportion of men that attack women, and like I say, on average, 2 women a week are being killed, and I get it, and my thoughts and prayers are with anyone that's lost somebody in a domestic abuse incident like that. But it's a double-sided coin, guys, and it would have been nice to have some balance from someone that says men are also victims of domestic abuse. It goes on. Sometimes it's both parties. The woman's kicking the shit out of the man, the man's kicking the shit out of the woman, and they just keep it between themselves and they deal with it and stuff. In life, you get treated how you allow yourself to get treated. Now, there's a lot of people that can't see the wood for the trees. When they're in a relationship, they're being battered. All they can see, they think that person's going to change, that they're going to get better. And the reality is that person could have been to prison. He could have battered every previous missus he's had or boyfriend she'd had, if we look at female offenders. It's a very real situation, guys, and like I say, you get treated in life how you allow yourself to get treated. Some people stay out of fear. Some people stay because they're scared if they leave them they'll be killed. Some people stay because they've got no self-esteem, because in an argument the person's calling them every name under the sun. If you are slagging women off and attacking women and verbally attacking them and beating them, but mainly, let's say, calling them names. I know it sounds silly calling them names, but it's if you call a woman a name or a man a name, it's like throwing mud at a wall. That mud sticks. Then what happens is that person develops like a self-confidence issues and stuff like that, and it can actually. I've spoken to domestic abuse victims where they've said, I would rather somebody hit me than call me names because it gives me a complex and stuff, and I feel that like I'm worthless and I feel like I'm worth less. And this is the reality. I've spoken to people that have been raped in domestic abuse relationships and stuff. I've spoken to people that have just been beaten. I've been people that have just been called names, and they would say, I've been with people that have hit me, and I've been with people that call me names. I'd much rather be with someone that hits me. Bruises, bones, they heal. Right? Words never heal. It gives me a complex about myself. And what that guy does or woman does, like I say, both sides of the coin. it makes that person feel like they're worthless, they're worth nothing. So they stay with that person. The person that's abusing them, whether it be coercive behaviour, physical abuse, economic abuse, like I say, by taking cars away and controlling things like that, or financial abuse, it makes that person feel that they're not worth anything. And the abuser makes it so that person, he loves her with all his heart, but he tells her she's worthless, she's useless, or she calls him useless, you're worthless, you fat bastard, you're this, you're that, you fat slag, right? And it makes the person, the abuser, loves that person with all they know, right? And they control them by abusive behaviour. And it's, some people stay and some people leave, but like I say, in life you get treated how you allow yourself to get treated. If someone hits you once, they're going to hit you 1,000 times. They're not going to change. They'll tell you they're going to change, and this, that and the other. You don't appreciate these people that are involved in domestic abuse relationships, and the abusers, they don't know what they've got until it's gone. And when it's gone, they're like, oh shit. And like I say, they threaten to kill them, and abuse and stalking campaigns, and it's a sad state of affairs, guys, and it goes on. And I've been in Strangeways. When I was in Strangeways with someone that was in for domestic abuse, he was targeted by other prisoners. I was in Forest Bank prison, and people that were in there for domestic abuse, and there was a lot of them, they wasn't beaten. So there's no consistency when it comes to that. In Strangeways, I've seen people attacked for domestic abuse. When it comes to private prison, Forest Bank, no one was attacked for domestic abuse. And like I say, that violence stems from somewhere, but you can't use that as an example. And I think they use it as fear and intimidation so that that person doesn't leave them, because they don't want to be on their own, or they're scared of losing them. There's issues behind that. And like I say, I don't condone domestic abuse in any which way. I understand what it goes on and why it goes on. Anyway, guys, it says here, Clare's Law. How you can ask police if your partner is an abuser. And if you're involved in a domestic abuse violence relationship, please feel free to contact me if you need any help or advice. I'm not an expert in the matter in any which way, but like I said, I'll gladly spend hours speaking to you down the phone. But anyway, so it says here, Clare's Law, how you can ask police if your partner is an abuser. The Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme, or the DVDS, oh no, DVDs, that's how it's spelled, is often called Clare's Law, after the landmark case that led to it. Clare's Law gives any member of the public the right to ask police if their partner may pose a risk to them. A member of the public can also make inquiries into the partner of a close friend or family member. To apply, you must go to the police station in person and discuss your concerns and situations with a police officer or staff member. Police and partner agencies will then arrange to carry out a range of checks. If they reveal a record of abusive offences or suggest the risk of domestic violence or abuse, they will consider sharing this information. The disclosure will usually be made to the person at risk at a time and place agreed in advance to be safe. Now, what I want to make abundantly clear with this, and where, and this is a big problem, and like I say, I'm for this, and I believe in it 1,000,000%, but you see there where it says, police and partner agencies will then carry out a range of checks. If these reveal a record of abusive offences or suggest a risk of violence or abuse, they will consider sharing this information. Now, let's say you are in a violent relationship and you have children. They will contact social services, right? This is a reason why I think a lot of people don't come forward, because one, they feel ashamed. Two, because they know that the police will contact social services. Social services then get involved in the case. If that person can't leave that person, or is scared to leave that person because the police, the social services can be telling them, it won't happen, it won't get you. But you can say all that in the world, right? The people have been like with restraining orders and stuff, and have still managed to kill their partner because it's just a piece of paper saying you're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and they still do it, guys. And a lot of people don't come forward simply because if they go to the police and say, look, I think he's beating me, or has he ever been in a domestic abuse relationship before? Next thing you know, social services are on your fucking doorstep, guys. And then, like I say, that can lead to your children being taken away. Obviously, the person's going to know that social services are involved, your partner or your husband. So you could get beat more. You're more at risk of being beaten. And social services, if you stay with that person and they say that you're not safeguarding your children, they'll gladly take your children into care like that. All because you came forward and had the courage to speak up, guys. It's a very real reality. And this is why a lot of people, in my opinion, don't come forward, because the police will share information. When it says local authorities and partner agencies, one of them partner agencies is social services. And if you go to the police and say, I've got 4 children with this guy, we're married, we've been married 10 years, he beats the shit out of me, I'll guarantee you social services will be on your doorstep within the same day, the next day. They'll be on your case and they'll say, you've got to leave him, you've got to leave him, you've got to leave him. In my opinion, that's going to put, because your partner's going to find out about this, it's putting you at higher risk and stuff like that. And then, like I say, it's putting you also at higher risk of being killed by your partner or attacked more, or your children being taken away from you. And this is one of these problems when it comes to these sort of situations. Now, like I say, social services are supposed to safeguard children, but a lot of them are power mad and have got really bad attitudes, and given half a chance, they will take your children like it's nothing. A lot of these social people, these social workers, have not actually got children themselves, have never been in domestic abuse relationship themselves, and then are quite happy to whip your children away because you haven't left him. You reached out to the police, right? Just asking, because he might have hurt you or give you a slap 1 time or 10 times or beaten you severely, and you go to the police and ask for help and just say, can you just let me know, right, with the intention that you want to leave him, but you're scared because you feel if you do, he knows where your mum lives, he knows where you work, all these different things, right? He knows where your kids go to school because you're together, or your kids are his kids. You openly ask for help and stuff like that, and seek out, has he done this before? Has he been in prison for it? Has he got any domestic violence on his record, right? And the next thing, your children can end up in care. You can end up hitting the drink or drugs, or you can be beaten to a bloody pulp. And social services are on your case and stuff, and it's a very slippery slope. And this is why a lot of people, when it comes to domestic abuse, in my opinion, don't come forward. I'm not an expert on the matter, guys, just my opinion. What do I know? I'm not an expert on anything, just in my own life. On that note, guys, leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.